A quick quiz about William Shakespeare. Hi, my name is Robert Boog, and I'm the author of Shakey's Madness. I'm also a lockdown scholar and real estate broker who lives in Valencia, California. In this video, we're going to give a quick quiz about William Shakespeare, and I'm going to use historical documents to prove my answers. Ask yourself, too, was William Shakespeare becoming his parents? Okay, so let's start the Shakespeare quiz. Did William's parents sign their names with a mark? Yes or no? That's question number one. Let's find out. Drum roll, please. And here is John Shakespeare. He signs with a mark. What about Mary Shakespeare? Yep, she signs with a mark too. Why does this matter? Well, not signing their names indicates illiteracy. It means John and Mary Shakespeare would not be reading books to their 6 kids in English or in Latin. And of course, we know today the value of reading to children. Kids whose parents read to them hear up to 1.4 million more words, right? Okay, William Shakespeare's wife. Was her name Agnes Hathaway or Anne Hathaway? Let's find out by looking at the historical document. And we can see here, this is the Richard Hathaway's last will and testament. So Richard Hathaway was her father. And under item I, he says right here, I give and bequeath unto Agnes, my daughter. And this is like £6, 13 shillings, 4 pence to be paid unto her at the day of her marriage. So William was coming into some money by marrying Agnes. Also here where you see and I desire my trusty friends and neighbors, and he names them here, Stephen Berman and Folk Sandals, to be my supervisors of this my last will and testament. Okay, so that's Folk Sandals, and then here we see John Richardson. John Richardson. That's interesting because Folk Sandals as a trusted friend, while John Richardson served as Richard's witness. Remember Folk Sandals and John Richardson? They were the 2 men who acted as sureties for William Shakespeare's £40 marriage bond. So doesn't this mean William must have been spending a lot of time at the Hathaway farm? I think so. So her name really was Agnes and not Anne. Agnes Hathaway was 3 months pregnant, and a marriage bond was required by the Bishop of Worcester to issue the marriage license. The bishop wished to be safeguarded from any future possible objections, and so he required a bond in the amount of £40, about the cost of a house. Did Will Shakespeare sign a marriage bond? Yes or no? This is question 3. Yes. Well, did he? Let's find out. I mean, we know he was married, right? And this is, I guess nobody signed it. That's odd. I thought the groom had to sign the marriage bond. So no, he did not sign it. Stratford scholars claim in 1582 William was 18, underage, so he did not need to sign it. But if the intent was to protect the bishop from a groom later claiming there was an impediment, does this make sense? As the groom could not, William later claimed she was with child and tricked me. I did not agree to this marriage. Yes, and if he did this, £40 would be forfeited by the Hathaway friends, right? Fulk Sandals and John Richardson, they were friends of the bride, not the groom. So let's think about this. Had William lied about their ages, the ages of William and Agnes? Is that why they went to a parish that was far away? Here's an example of a typical marriage bond of the time. Okay, so they only existed for couples who applied to marry by license, not by the banns of marriage that were announced in church. The marriage allegation was the document in which the couple alleged that there were no impediments to the marriage. The marriage bond set a financial penalty on the groom and his bondsman, usually a close friend or relative, in the case the allegation should prove to be false. The sum named on the bond was not the price of the marriage license, it was the penalty sum, and was set deliberately high to deter irregular marriages. Now, in the case of marrying by license, and if the groom was a minor, in the case of a minor, the allegation also included the consent of a parent or guardian of the minor. But John Shakespeare didn't sign that, right? So that's why I'm thinking that the two people close to Richard Hathaway, Fulk Sandals and John Richardson, signed it. So it seems like Anne Hathaway was viewed as being a minor, not William Shakespeare. His father did not sign it. That's the only thing I can think of is here might be a T and maybe this is, I don't know, an S here. And this is the language of the bond itself. Okay, question number 4. What was William Shakespeare's baptismal name? A. Gilliam, B. Wilhelmus, C. Guilielmus, or D. Guildenstern? You can pick A, B, C, or D. Which will it be? And let's find out. So this is the baptism records of those days. And here we can see Shakespeare's has 3 X's by it. And the name Guilielmus, filius of Johann Shakespeare. Notice there's no E right here, right? So the correct answer is C, Guilielmus. Okay, number 5. Did girls in Shakespeare's time attend school in Stratford-upon-Avon? Yes or no? Did girls in Shakespeare's time attend school in Stratford-upon-Avon? Well, on this one, there was a woman in 1598 named Elizabeth Evans who was accused of being a prostitute. And there was evidence regarding female schooling comes in a deposition given by Joyce Cowden. Like Evans, Joyce Cowden was a Stratfordian living in London. At the time of the trial, Cowden was married to John Cowden, and Cowden was called to give evidence about Elizabeth Evans' identity because Evans had been using false names. Her deposition records, "She doth know Elizabeth Evans, and she saith she, Cowden, was born in Stratford-upon-Avon, and further she saith that she went to school with the said Elizabeth Evans." Elizabeth Evans confirms this. Elizabeth Evans, being present at the examination of the said Joyce, confessed the same to be true, and that the said Joyce did go with her, the said Elizabeth, to school together at Stratford upon Avon. So the answer is yes. The question it raises, why didn't Shakespeare's daughters attend school then? Also, Elizabeth Evans attended school in Stratford and signed her court deposition with her mark. So was the Stratford School the equivalent to a modern university like many Stratfordians might have one believe? No. Okay, next question. Is this a sack of grain or a bag of wool? Now this, to me, looks like John Shakespeare, William's father. But the question I'm going to really ask you is, did John Shakespeare use a windmill? That might help answer what this sack is. So this document states that John Shakespeare was a tenant of Ingon Meadow. So I'm going to go to page 2 here. And if you do that, and if you count down where you see these, this thing here, the foot of fine, count down like 20 lines and you'll see the name John Shakespeare right here. So I'm going to click it to make it bigger so we can read it. And of course I lose it here. Here we go. All right. So it says, and also one other meadow. Now or late in the tenure. Oops, sorry. Wait. I can't really see what I'm doing here. Okay. And also one other meadow with the appurtenances called or known by the name of Ingon, alias Ingon Meadow, containing by estimation 14 acres, be it more or less, now or late in the tenure or occupation of John Shakespeare or his assigns, and also certain arable lands with their appurtenances in the old town of Stratford, aforesaid, containing 107 acres after 2 lands to the acre thereof, or whereof a windmill, right here, windmill, with 4 lands thereunto next adjoining are not parcel, but 29 lands of the 107 lands are untilled. Okay, that's not easy, is it? Okay, so did he use a windmill? Yes, it looks like he did. Now, if John and Mary Shakespeare never attended school, would they see the need for their children to attend school? Especially if they've got 14 acres plus 107 acres. We're talking 121 acres. Here again is where it says windmill. I should have done this earlier, huh? Okay. So to me, that's a sack of grain. Now, further down that, before the next foot of fine, you can see the tenure of 10 years here. Or it could be 21 years. So I'm not sure. It is dated here before the first day of November in the year of our Lord God 1503. So 11/1/1564 appears to be when rent was due, but not when John Shakespeare's lease first started. So if we don't know if it's 10 years or 21 years. If it was a 10-year lease, might that explain why John purchases 2 messuages in October of 1575? That's when he bought these 2 messuages. Maybe he thought his lease was not going to be extended, or maybe the new owner wanted more. I'm not sure. Now, some may ask, well, what if it was another Shakespeare? After all, Shakespeare was a common name in Warwickshire. How do you know it was John Shakespeare, William's father, that rented that 14 acres plus the 107? But in real estate, there's something called a chain of title, which shows the sequential and historical record of property transfers. In our case here, we have William Clopton and William Sheldon, who sell to Ed and Rice Griffin, who then sell to William and John Combs, who sell to William Shakespeare. The price was £320, a lot of money. Why pay so much? Had his father John lost his lease or gotten evicted because the landlord wanted more money? Now William will pay top dollar because it's personal. Again, was William Shakespeare becoming his father? Moneylender, real estate investor, businessman, litigant. Was William Shakespeare's father a wanted man? Yes or no? I mean, he had legal problems, we know that, but was he a wanted man? So let's look here, and we see a writ of Capias naming John, writ of Attatius naming John Shakespeare, writ of Attatius, again, naming John Shakespeare. Then there's 2 writs of Capias naming, again, 1575. These are all through the 1570s, all the way 1576. These are the times when William was supposedly going to school, right? So they cannot find John Shakespeare, even all the way up to 1587. So it doesn't appear that William was living in the town of Stratford-upon-Avon. He was living out on that farm, the one with the windmill. And that's why they could not find him, I think. Was William becoming his father? Here's looks like a pillow here, looks like a pillow here. 1592, did William Shakespeare act in his plays, or did he loan money? What do you think? Let's find out. William Shakespeare and the Clayton Loan of 1592. Now, in the year 1601, William Shakespeare successfully sued John Clayton for the return of £7 plus a penalty for a total of £10. The loan was transacted on 22 of May in 1592 in London. Now, Shakespeare scholars will claim that this is the wrong Shakespeare because Shakespeare was from Stratford-upon-Avon and this happened in London. But at the same time, we hear that Shakespeare left Stratford-upon-Avon. Right? So this proves that there was a William Shakespeare in London. There is no proof he acted in any play in 1592. Did Shakespeare rely more on books or his genius imagination to create plots? What do you think? Certainly had a genius imagination, right? But to create plays or plots for his plays, he relied on books. This Green's groat's worth of wit, bought with the million of repentance, was published in 1592. And in it, he remarks the line about Shakespeare, "O tiger's heart wrapped in a woman's hide." This comes from the play Henry VI, Part 3, which it was based on the union of the two noble and illustrious families of Lancaster and York, and Holinshed's Chronicles, which consisted of 15 books. So these had to be read prior to Henry VI, Part 3. But what about Parts 1 and 2? Foreign books were used to write the canon. Plots were borrowed from foreign books written in Greek or Latin, and many of these foreign books had not yet been translated into English. Translating books into English back then was time-consuming. Then writing a 50-plus page poem based on 15 foreign books takes time. What about 2 years penning 2 50-plus page poems, Venus and Adonis and Lucrece, plus 5 original plays, while reading approximately 46 books? Wouldn't that take even more time and money? How fast can you read a book in Latin, Spanish, Greek, or Italian? It's going to take you some time, wouldn't it? Now, this is a chronology of plays per Sir Stanley Wells from 1589 through 1594. And you notice how they line up except for this first one here. But if you look at Sir Stanley Wells' one, you'll find between 1589 through 1594, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 plays right here, right? But he's missing these 2 works, the play Venus and Adonis and the Rape of Lucrece. So there are 11 original works. And when we add all these books, the source plays, Diana Enamorada, written in Spanish, Decameron by Boccaccio, Italian, Suppositi in Italian, Holinshed's Chronicles, Euripides' Hecuba, Seneca's Theaesis, and Ovid's Metamorphosis. The History of Rome in Latin, this is possibly 35 volumes. The Fausti is 6. The Monachemy by Plautus. There are a lot of source materials. So it's not his genius imagination. It's all kinds of books. And how many years do we know Shakespeare studied Latin? We know for a fact it was 0. He did not study Latin at all. This is Edward de Vere, Oxford, his daily regimen according to Alan H. Nelson. Oxford spent 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the afternoon studying Latin. This is Oxford, Edward de Vere. So he studied Latin for 2 hours a day from age 12 through 21. Was William Shakespeare just becoming his parents? I mean, his father did not know Latin, so why should William? But this is for you to look up at the evidence. Was Oxford becoming like his parents? I think so. Edward's father, John de Vere, knew Latin. John de Vere worked for Queen Elizabeth and knew her well. John de Vere owned a touring company of actors and musicians who put on plays and performances. I mean, the Queen visited his home and stayed there for 3 days. Did the Earl of Oxford write or direct any plays? Well, in 1589, author George Puttenham in The Art of English Poesy declared that for comedy and interlude, these two do deserve the highest prize, the Earl of Oxford and Maester Edwards. So yes, they apparently wrote two plays. One was a comedy and the other was an interlude. And an interlude was a small theatrical work in between two plays. Also in 1580, Dr. Hatcher wrote from Cambridge University to Lord Burleigh. He stated the reasons why the heads of the university object to the Earl of Oxford's players showing their cunning in certain plays already practiced by them before the Queen's Majesty, the like having been denied to the Earl of Leicester's servants. So yes. Now, if many people think William Shakespeare did not write the canon. In fact, there's a declaration of reasonable doubt about the identity of William Shakespeare that's signed by Sigmund Freud, William James, Orson Welles, Charlie Chaplin, Mark Twain. A lot of important people have doubted Shakespeare's authorship. This guy, Hank Whittemore, he gives a list of 100 reasons why he didn't write it. Remember the school in Stratford? Elizabeth Evans signed with her mark, so it was not exactly a university education. William Shakespeare of Stratford-upon-Avon wrote rhymes. So after 1604, these are kind of what we see. Like this is an epitaph written by William Shakespeare. When God was pleased, the world unwilling yet, Elias James to nature paid his debt, and here reposeth, as he lived he died, the saying in him strongly verified, such life, such death, then the known truth to tell, he lived a godly life and died as well. It's not exactly, shall I compare thee to a summer's day. Okay, I suggest check out the YouTube videos of Alexander Waugh, and if you like podcasts, check out Don't Quill the Messenger. Just don't take my word for it. Why should anyone care? Whenever an author is interviewed, the first question an interviewer will ask is, what inspired you to write this work? Meaning, how is your life interrelated with your work? If you wrote 37 plays, wouldn't some of them be about you? I mean, would they really be about making money? And that's what I think. When it comes to Shakespeare, it's not really about him. Edward de Vere was 14 years older than Shakespeare, so he had time to write and rewrite. But why would he write the poems and plays and then attribute them to someone else? And that's what my little book tries to answer, why he did this. My little book is called Shakespeare's Madness. In it, I point out some more things about the real author of Shakespeare you might not have thought about. For example, the fainting. Why so much fainting in the canon, in the poems as well as the plays? Fun fact, by the way, are fun facts really fun? Great writing comes from rewriting, because as Hemingway wrote, the first draft of anything is garbage. So anyway, thanks for taking this quiz. This is the end of this video. Start your journey into the authorship mystery of William Shakespeare by just fact-checking me. See if what I've written is true or not. My website is robertboog.com. Thank you for watching. Here are some more sources for you to read or double check, and have an awesome day today.